You are listening to the Enormocast.
Recently, I was sitting there doing nothing when it hit me. Climbing wasn't feeling the way it used to. The sends and the best day evers just weren't quite as sparkly. The click of the quick draw wasn't quite shining the jewels the way it used to. And even the scent of my new pair of squamas straight out of the box seemed bland, and frankly, taking a big whiff of my new shoes felt weird and off-putting for the first time. That's when I asked Sportiva about running. And Sportiva said, "Yeah, it's all right. J-Star swears by it, you know, and he climbs 515. And I said, you're still not quite selling it. And they said, "Quit being a wuss and try the Prodigio." And I said, "No thanks, I had a big breakfast." And they said, "No, dumbass, Prodigio is our line of next-gen mountain running shoes." And I said, "Okay, fine, it can't hurt." But I was wrong. Running does hurt a little bit, but it also complements the climbing life just right. Easy to do right out of the van, expands that aerobic capacity for long approaches and big routes, and the endorphins are top-notch. Turns out that Sportiva's Prodigio line of mountain runners is perfect for my climbing gnarled feet. Cushy, light, airy, and fleet. So, if you need something to remind you why climbing is so great, you too should ask Sportiva about running in the Prodigio line. The Prodigio Pro, the Max, or the Original. Don't just do it for your health and well-being. Do it for J-Star and those sweet, sweet endorphins.
There was once a time, eons ago, when a person bought a product once and used it for the rest of their lives. In fact, once they died, in accordance with local rites, their entrails and organs were removed, stored, and they were wrapped and entombed under 6 million tons of cut limestone with those indestructible possessions so they could be useful in the afterlife. Well, the folks at Yeti want you to think of their products the same way. You know, minus the pulling the organs through your nasal cavity and the death and all that. We live in a time with too much cheap throwaway crap, pardon my French, and stuff like the Yeti Tundra Cooler, the Yonder water bottle, and Yeti's plethora of stainless drinkware is built to combat that deplorable trend. Yeti products don't just last. By Horus, they work. In fact, if I wake up on the dark side of the sticks without my 26-ounce stainless steel Rambler hot cold water bottle with the leak-proof chug cap, old Osiris is going to hear about it. So do yourself and your future ghost a favor and check out all Yeti's bomber products at Yeti.com or your local outdoor goods retailer. Because just in case you end up down under, you're going to want a cold drink in hell.
Listen, where are you playing in town? You playing here?
We're doing the Enormo Dome, whatever it is. It's terrific.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
big
big
house. We
place
sold it
outside
out.
of town. That's a
Very
big
nice.
place. You sold it out.
20,000
seats.
We really should.
Look, you better get up there before you panic. Those pens are loose. You're very good. I have really enjoyed climbing with you. We'll make it. I don't think so. But we shall continue with style. Good weather, bad weather. Now or later, anytime for climbing.
Today's show is brought to you by La Sportiva
Arc'teryx Equipment.
and with support from Maxim Ropes. Maxim has been keeping the Enormocast off the deck since 2012.
And now, we can also thank the chill folks at Yeti. And don't forget our charter sponsor, Bonfire Coffee. Go to bonfirecoffee.com and enter Enorma at checkout for a discount on great coffee and to support the Enormocast.
And now back to the show.
Hello and welcome to the Enormocast. This is your host, Chris Kalous. It is September 3rd, 2025, about 10 a.m. here in Colorado, and this is episode 211 of the Enormocast. That sounded weird. A conversation with Gisely Ferraz, also known as Brazilianclimbergirl, also known as Gisely Souza, and known as G to her friends. Lots of names. We'll talk about that later. But before we get to that, I want to give a shout out to Arc'teryx and all the folks I ran into up at the Arc'teryx Academy in Squamish. Had an amazing time. This year had awesome weather. This year was not injured. This year climbed some pitches. Got several podcast projects done, which you guys will hear in the coming months. Had a very emotional night emceeing a tribute to Michael Gardner that they did on Friday night. Hung out a bunch with my podcast bro, Ryan Devlin, from over at the Struggle Podcast. Ryan and I have become good friends over the last couple of years. And yeah, just a tremendous time. And again, I want to thank Arc'teryx for bringing me up there. I am a man of the people in the end. I enjoy meeting people who listen to the show, talking about it, explaining why I never return their email, all that sort of thing. Okay, let's get to this interview with Gisely. G and I met up in Moab, and we sat down in the camper face to face. And when we got together, I kind of ran some ideas behind her, not sure what she would want to talk about. And we sort of happened into her past. And once again, I'm finding myself in this position of talking about traumatic events. Gisely had a very traumatic, difficult accident where she lost her partner. And we recount it here in pretty deep detail, actually. So be ready for that. I don't know how I ended up in this position. I've been doing a lot of these things this year. It's sort of natural for me to want to talk about people's feelings, about the things that influence who they are. And a lot of times, these difficult climbing events, these accidents, these deaths and things like that are a very big part of who people become as climbers. I've kind of treaded into this territory because it's my personality, but also by happenstance. We don't always have these stories to talk about, and sometimes people don't want to talk about them. I feel like this was Kathy Carlo's territory, my friend Kathy, who used to do For the Love of Climbing podcast. The two of us used to joke about how that was her game versus me just talking about, bullshit climbing stories. Today's interview with G is not a bullshit climbing story. It's very heavy, very deep feelings. Incidentally, we spend a lot of time, several years in Gisely's past, and I've offered, and hopefully she'll take me up on the offer, to come back on the show and kind of update us about what she's doing now, because she's an incredible climber. She's a guide. She's got a bunch of goals. I think an update would be in order, and hopefully she'll come back and do that. But once again here on the Enormocast, buckle in for a deep, emotional, somewhat difficult interview with a beautiful person, someone who adds so much to the community, and someone who found a way to move forward after losing someone very close to her. So let's get into it. An interview with Gisely Ferraz. Oh, and one other note. Gisely is a bit self-conscious about her accent, but I think it's wonderful. Just let it wash over you.
First came the Archaeopteryx, a compact feathered dinosaur who dared to fly, maybe. But at the very least, they dared to be different with their cute little feathers out there strutting around like primal chickens. Tip of the hat to those mighty but mini mavericks. Then, some 150 million years later, one of them half-pint bosses was dug up, and its rebel attitude inspired the founding of Arc'teryx Equipment. These days, Arc'teryx is known for its own forward-thinking design instincts in apparel. But did you know that it all started with climbing harnesses? That's right. In 1989, the sport was a-changin', and clunky, uncomfortable harnesses were not gonna fly. 36 years later, Arc'teryx has refined their harness offerings to just two flawless designs, the Skaha and the AR395, which is a mouthful. Personally, I'd named it the Bugaboo, but I'm not in charge, am I? The Skaha excels in sport and short climbing, and the AR are all-round, boasts blazonry for big routes and alpine. Both these sleek saddles come from the vapor harness lineage we all remember, where lightweight breathability does not compromise comfort and function. So check out them harnesses hiding amongst all that amazing apparel at Arc'teryx.com or your local shop. And fly off them routes with the same confidence that our little feathered dino friend took to the sky so long ago.
So my name is Gisely Ferraz, and then I got married, and I was married for 5 years, and I changed my name, right? But then we got divorced, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to change my passport, my citizen document, certification. It's just too many documents for me to change. And I always have been rolling with Gisely Ferraz, but when Instagram, I did those verification, they want your ID name. And that's where the Souza pop out. And everybody's just like, who is Souza? And I was like, well, that was the old me. I don't know. Yeah.
How long ago was that? Was the old me?
I guess it has been 10 years that I have been divorced.
Okay. Yeah, you have this interesting arc in that, I don't know when, we can get into exactly when you started climbing, but you certainly became a lifestyle type climber, like living it deeply, kind of late in life. And there's seems to be this whole previous era where you were on a far more typical path, although not typical in the sense that you're an immigrant from Brazil to the United States. So that's not typical, but you came here to get on this path of, professional life and family and stuff like that. So let's go there about, the old you, as you just said. Who was the old you?
So I started climbing when I was 17 to 18. I come from Brazil, very ethical climbing. Like, you don't put too many bolts. You the old crusty climbers. And pretty much I was in the mountains climbing a lot of granite. So I really like it because I got really good in technical climb. I know how to work my feet when I need.
Also, aside from it being Brazil, this was 30 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like
you make the math.
Yeah. So it's like
when people ask me how long I have been climbing, I was like, "How old are you?" And they're usually on the 20s, and I'm like, "Yeah, I have been climbing for 30 years."
Yeah. So so it's just like it was a different era everywhere.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it used to have girls climbing, but it was the girlfriend with the boyfriend would bring. And I was like, no, I want to climb with other girls. So I met some badass girls and we started climbing together, and I started going to the gym after 2 years of climbing. And pretty quickly I started competing in Brazil, actually. We didn't have a lot of women on the field, but for 4 years, I was never the first place, but I was always in the podium. I did have a sponsor at that time, actually. It was a shoe company from Brazil. And it was pretty exciting because they pay me to go to competitions so I could travel around. But I always have the love for rocks. And
what kind of kid were you, though? Like, before this? Like, what kind of, what's your, like, upbringing look like in Brazil? It's new to us,
Yeah, so I'm from a big town. It's called Curitiba. I was a city girl, but my parents were never at home. So I was like always putting myself in trouble for some reason. So my mom used to send me to my grandma's house, and that was a farm where I spent my vacation. So I was like climbing trees, and I felt like I used to hang out with the boys more because I like to just be out there and be in nature and pretty much climb everything I could. I didn't know I want to be a climber. I just know that I like to be outside. But when I'm in the city, I was just studying, not doing a lot of sports. I was a little troubled kid. So I felt like climbing helped me a lot to put more of who I am out there. And I went for a hike and I saw some people climbing. And actually the guy was like peeing on the wall, and I was like from far away. I was like, what are he doing on the wall? And they're like, oh, they're climbing. And they're climbing multi-pitch. And I was like, I want to do that. So I started looking for friends that could take me to climb. But climb at that time was like set up a top rope on the slabs and climb, because that's what we have more in my hometown. Mountains with the dark granite, more like friction. But then 2 years after, I started climbing the gym and started competing and started being more in that scene.
Yeah, and that must have been a really early kind of gym scene. That's gyms 30 years ago. They're not many. Yeah.
I think I was the first one to sign up on my gym, actually.
Oh, really?
I was like, they opening a gym in town. I was like, great, let's go to the gym. I want to climb.
What did it look like?
It was a backyard from a very strong climber, Juquinha. He was a mentor at that time. And I remember he has a little stick and he was showing me where to put my feet and my hands, and we go sideways. It was a spray wall with sideways, very short. but we are excited.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I like those, like the old gym stories, are because I mean, everybody has this image of what a gym looks like, and it's way different than it used to be. Yeah,
the holds. Oh my gosh, the holds are horrible.
They were horrible. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really bad, but it definitely helped me grow as a teenager. Helped me not focus on doing bad things, and not bad things. I'm seeing like when you're a teenager, you rebel for some reason, for some trauma, or because your parents not give you enough, or because your parents are not in the house. So I was like always outside, and so climbing.
I don't know. It feels like it's just you were either born to rebel or you weren't, because like my parents gave me everything, and I still was a little jerk rebel kid. So it's like
it's a personality thing.
It's part of it. I mean, in climbing it seems to draw those people in. At least it used to.
Yeah.
Because it was such even with your gym, that's not the gym culture we talk about. Like even going to that little crusty gym was a counterculture move, climbing drew so many people in, and, let's say 30 years ago, because it was something different, not because it was what everybody else was doing, which has kind of changed a little bit. So I think, in the time I've been doing this, a certain age climber was likely some sort of rebel who was getting themselves in trouble otherwise.
Yeah, it's not bad trouble, but so those things
Staying
that your parents
way.
doesn't want you to do it.
So, but yeah, let's expand to entering like the climbing community. What does it look like where you lived?
It was hard to break in, especially because you're new. The old crusty didn't want the new generation to come. They didn't like the gym. But for me, it was kind of easy. I felt like I'm very likable, and people just like, I can teach you how to climb, some tread climbing. So I was like, okay, let's do this. So I was like training for sport climbing, but my eyes was always climbing the mountains. Of course, in Brazil, we don't have like ice. We just have multi-page granite, very run out routes. They didn't want to put any bolts for climbers. It was just like, you gotta be brave and tough, and the grades are sandbags, and they're like, oh, if you cannot do it, you should not do it. So I just learned how to make myself a better climber so I can actually pursue that route.
Do you think you have like a good handle on fear when you're climbing?
Yeah.
You do?
I think that's one of my powers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Perfect.
I do better in endurance routes, and I do better when I have to control my fear. Better than when I have to pull this hard move. So yeah, I'm a better climber in that aspect. Maybe that's why, because of where I came from. It was not from a boulder scene. It was more like a big wall, multi-pitch climbing.
Yeah. I mean, that's what happens. You just start to get good at what you have to do.
Yeah. You're already exposed, nothing you can do it.
Right.
Nobody's going to come to save you. You just got to do it or you don't do it. So, pretty much that's where I come from. But I compete for 4 years, and I was mother very young. I was mother when I was 17. And it comes to the time my son was 7 years old, and you have a kid, how it is. You need more time for your kids. So that's when I started leaving climbing behind a little bit.
So you started climbing when you were 17, and you had a son when you were 17.
I started climbing right after my son. It was hard. Like, I got pregnant when I was 16. I got my son. I've had my son when I was 17, and I felt that people used to judge me a lot. I would go to school and it was hard. Right. Even around my neighbors, I was the girl who got pregnant very early, so it was hard. And then when I started going to the mountains, nobody was there to judge me. Everybody was just giving me support, to face that challenge I had on the day. So I felt comfortable out there. So yeah, I started climbing right after my son was born.
And you were a single mom, or were you with somebody, or was dad around?
He was my first boyfriend. Okay, right. He was around.
Okay, cool.
But we are both 16.
Yeah.
What do you think when you're 16?
Yeah. Did you have family support for parenting?
Yes.
Okay.
it took a team to raise my amazing son. Yeah.
Nice.
I didn't do the job by myself. It was great. His father was present. My mom was present. His family. Everybody was just like, well, we got a kid.
This. Yeah.
Yeah. It brought a lot of love to the family. I'm the only child, so my mom loved it. And she supported me to keep climbing. So I was able to be a mom and keep climbing. I used to bring my son to climb. He didn't like much, but I was like pushing, forcing, promising him whatever I could for him to go climb with me, rappel, do everything. And he didn't like it. And then one day, when he was 7 years old, he looked at me. He's like, Mom, I still remember he was in the rope and climbing this route. And I was like, you got this. And I was like, if I like this, my son's going to like this. Come on. This is amazing. This saved my life. I love climbing. But he looked at me and he's like, Mom, I don't like this. And then finally, it comes to a sense like, okay, this is something I like, not what my son likes. So I try to play soccer with him. He likes to swim. He likes to swim in open water. I freak out in open water. Yeah. He does like go to the beach and do like miles and miles of swimming. And I'm like, So it's funny how individually we're all different. We just got to respect that.
So your climbing stops or it just gets slower as far as you mentioned at this point when he's 7?
It stops. That's when I decide to move to the United States. I have family in Massachusetts. I want to go to California. And my mom was like, no, you have family in Massachusetts. That's where you're going to go. And I was like, okay. So yeah, I came to Massachusetts to study and work for 2 years. And then I met my husband and we got married and I was able to go on my process and I stay here. And then slowly I got back to climb. I didn't climb for 3 years when I moved here. You have a kid, you're an immigrant, you have to work and apply for your papers and all that. And I live on Cape Cod. It's pretty flat.
Yeah. There's not a lot of climbing opportunities.
No, but it was cool. I learned how to surfing and also I learned how to sailing. I used to have like race every Wednesday. So I used to volunteer myself to do a sailboat racing, which was really cool. So I have a little passion now for boats. I even own my own boat that I bought it and I put on Canada when I moved with Ken in Canada.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, we started this little part of the podcast with the old self, we opened with your name change and things like that. But we're getting close to the end of that. So you're in Massachusetts pursuing, whatever career that you're learning how to do life. Your son's now either almost a teenager or a teenager. What happens that you ended up going west?
So I always dream with the West. Since I moved to United States, I was like, I want to go to California, but I couldn't. So I was a Warrior Weekend climber. I used to go. So
once you got back into it, you're still in Massachusetts.
Yeah. So I climbed Rumney, the Gunks, Red River Gorge. I loved Red River Gorge. I was a sport climber. I was a 5'12", 5'13" climber. I was actually the third woman in Brazil to climb 5'13", but that's because we didn't have too many. I was like breaking that bubble.
Like too many women climbers or too many 5'13s?
Both. You will go to the place and you have like one or two, and if that doesn't fit your style, and it's different if you go to Spain and it has like so many climbs and everyone is so strong in Spain. When I went there, I was like, they smoke a lot. Maybe it's the tobacco they smoke. What that give you that freaking power?
They do smoke a lot.
But I think is the possibility to have so many routes, that we didn't have in Brazil. So yeah, back to Massachusetts. I'm losing track here. So yeah, I used to have my own business in Massachusetts. I used to work and get 6 months vacation. So I used to come to West and climbing. But my destination used to be always like sport climbing. But I had this dream to climb El Capitan. And first time I went to Yosemite, I looked to El Cap and I was like, this is a beautiful rock. I want to climb this rock. And my power that I have that time, it was not very helpful. felt like the rock was very slippery. I didn't know how to crack climbing, so you do like lay back, some easy stuff. You do the offloads. I used to do the elevator door, all those. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got to learn how to climb this rock. I was just obsessed with El Cap. Actually, I have even an El Cap tattoo in my arms. Just, I don't know, I have a passion for it. So that first season, actually, I told my partner, I was like, I want to climb El Cap. I know he has done many times, and he's like, well, let's climb around first, and then we'll decide if you are ready. So we stayed for a month, and we climbed so many routes in Yosemite, and I started getting more used to the rock, to the style. And then we climbed Salate, which was an amazing experience. I was pretty impressed how, I used to sport climbing and really like working routes to sand. So I was working this 513, so I would like change my beta, sleep well, drink enough water, come back home, think about the route, and just be obsessed with the route. But I will have a rest, a car to drive, a bed to sleep. And when I got to the red wall, I look and I was like, oh my gosh, people are trying hard way up here and sleeping in ledges or portaledges. And so that was very fascinating for me. And I was like, oh, that would be so cool to do this. So yeah, that was a great experience. Actually, we top out in 4 days. I couldn't collaborate much on leading because that was my first time in El Cap. I was just learning a lot. And after that, I was like, okay, I want to move to West Coast and I want to learn how to crack climbing.
So wait, I got to put this into the timeline. Are you, your kid, like I said, your son is a teenager or almost a teenager. I don't know where that fits. Are you still married? Like these months away, how does that fit into your life back in Massachusetts
So I have a cleaning business and taking care of summer vacation homes. We have a lot of $1 million houses on the Cape Cod, so they have just for vacation homes. So my business was oriented only for vacation homes. So I was able to work for 7 months and then I could travel the other months. I could not travel for more than a month because I could not stay far from my son or from my husband at that time. But they know I love climbing. They know my passion. So, when your family understand that you will be happier if you pursue your dreams, they understand that. But I think that was 2015. My marriage was already not doing that well.
Yeah, it's a lot to ask of a relationship for sure to be gone. It's a long standing problem in climbing in general of finding the right people to be with. What about your son? Was he understanding of your need to be away for a long time?
At some point, no. Well, I think he understands that I love climbing. And I think he understood that huge part of my life is climbing. But what he didn't understand, it was when he was 15, 16, that his mom was never much around. His mom was always traveling and his mom was always climbing. So that create a little, I don't want to say problem, but, it was not as smooth. I guess I grew up having problems that my parents were not able to give me things that I wish or provide me a safe place to be in college and everything. And for me, it was more important for my son. I'm a provider. I'm going to give you everything you need. That costs the time. I'm not going to be around. So I'm sure it was hard for him when he was 16, 17. But after that, he realized that that's what I love to do. And he supports me. And we have a really good relationship now.
Were you self-aware of it, or did it come later when you were kind of like, well,
It came later.
Yeah, it came later.
It came later with the problem. Like,
right.
Okay, my kid is tell me that I was never picking up him in the school or I was not at home. But also, my son, Stefan, was not only raised by me. It was by his dad, my mom. So he was always moving to different places as time. And that would give me my time to go climb. So Chris, I was just trying to, like the Malabaris, like we're juggling and you're trying to be like a mom, a climber, and and work and everything. It was just, that's what I was just trying to do. Maybe I didn't plan well when I had a kid. So that changed a lot of like life, you know. I was there for 14 years actually in Massachusetts. Yeah. And in 2015, that's when I went to Yosemite, and that's when I'm like, okay, I want to change my life. So from 2015 to 2017, when I turned 40 years old and my son graduated in college, he's an electrical engineer. I'm really proud of him. I was like, okay, now I have a meeting with him, and I was like, okay, so now mom is going to be a rock climber. And I remember he's like, put his arm out on a back chair, and I was like, what? And I was like, yeah, so you're an engineer now. You're the responsible of the family, and mom is going to be a rock climber. So I bought a sailboat, and I bought a van. My sailboat I put in Squamish because I want to spend my summer in Squamish. And I got my van to move to West, and sold my business and just decided to leave my love for my passion for climbing.
How easy was this decision? Had you been thinking about it? Like, that's a big deal. I mean, most people, that would be a terrifying thing to like leave behind all these stable things that you know, and venture out at 40 into this world of climbing. It seems really unusual.
Well, I was pretty addicted to climb. Not addicted, but I was fascinated when I was young. And then from 27 to 40, I have all this life. It's hard to say obligation, but you know, you have work, kids, and just things get in the way. And I felt like I never could leave my full passion from climbing. And I used to listen to your show a lot, all the time I'm driving. Just, it was special too. So I have to say thank you for like inspire me on the road, keep me awake. And all the time I was like going for a dream destination, I was listening to your podcast. So that life responsibility made me stay where I was not happy. I was happy, but actually I was not full happy. I used to think time is money, so I was all about working. But then I realized money would not buy the time I was losing it and the experiences I want to live. And I was actually buying things to make myself happy. You know, I was in the Cape, so I was like, oh, I can go to restaurants and go to coffee shops and buying whatever I want. But I was not full happy. I want to own my time. And that was important for me. So after he graduated in college, I was like, well, my responsibility, I still have responsibilities with him, but pretty much being a provider is over.
He's grown up.
He grew up. Yeah. He just hung out with his girlfriend. He didn't want to hang out with his mom anymore. So it was hard to step out of my comfortable zone. You know, I have a good job that I was not getting any reach, but I have a good job. I could travel. I could have 5 months vacation. Who doesn't want a 5 months vacation? But I still wasn't happy. So after I went to Yosemite, I started discovering people who live in the car and will live with less. And I just realized I had a lot of those things that I don't need it. I didn't want to. And what I want is being in the West and out in the West and climbing. So I felt like I was getting old. And if I didn't make that call right now, when I would do it? When I'm 50, 60? When I'll be like, oh, I'm too old to climb this mountain? So yeah, I made the decision. I was like, I really want to change, and here I am.
What was the first steps?
Yeah, so my first step, I went to Yosemite. So I bought a van and I went to Yosemite. In the past season, I did meet Ken Anderson. He was living in the back of his truck, and I fell in love with his freedom, his enthusiasm, and how he lived his life and climbing. And I was like, I wanted more of that. I felt like that's what I was looking for. So he told me he would not do long distance relationship. And I was like, I'm dropping everything. I'm just selling my business. So it took me 6 months to like slowly organize my life. But I was for sure, that's what I want to do in my life. I just want to go climbing.
So you partially made this whole bet on a dirt bag.
Yep. I'm still, yeah, pretty much. So yeah, and at the same time, I have this passion for boats, so I didn't really want to live in the back of the truck. So I bought a van, and then I bought a sailboat, a CNC, 27 feet, and I put in the marina on Squamish so we could spend our summer there. Ken was from Squamish.
Okay. Yeah, and van life has gotten harder and harder in Squamish, so boat life worked.
Yeah, it was already not welcome. Like, vans are not welcome in town. So I remember he knew a couple of spots we could drive and sleep around town. But it was pretty sweet to sleep right in the marina, looking the chief, and it was pretty dreamy. Yeah,
I stopped by my friend Mark Sinat's boat up there last summer. He was in the marina. But yeah, it's a nice spot.
And now actually they're not allowed. I mean, when I sold my boat, they're not allowed people to stay on board or leave on board. And I was like, why am I going to have my boat to just take out and come back? It's just, no. So, yeah.
Boy, they're just like trying to crush everybody up there.
Yeah, they're building, condos and houses, and they just want the place for people who's paying big money.
Yeah. So tell me about this initial living the dream with.
I was like, finally, I was able to live my dream. Like, I found a very exciting partner who wants to climb, travel the world. And so we just started this beautiful relationship. I never met nobody like he was very, very special kind. He was genuine and he loved climbing. He would be sending hard, but he would just want to hear about your adventure, your 510, and he was just out there for other people. I was like so proud of him because he sent Freerider ground up, and I was supporting him. And he would come back and not even tell people that he sent it. And I was the one like, hey, he sent it. And yeah, he would be like, baby, stop it. Don't tell people. I was like, why not? It's amazing. I was like pretty amazing by his achievements. So living the dream, we went to China, Liming. We climbed in China. That was really cool. His vision was pretty amazing. Like, we are buying tickets for China, but he was already thinking about Kochamo. That was another place that we spent some time there. And Kochamo was very special because I never did a expedition that you need to like rental horses and buy your food and walk so far to be out there, to be able to climb multiple pitches. And it got to the point that we were feeling like so strong, like horses. We're so strong because we have to like hike, climb 10 pitches, come back and hike back. And we did 11 routes in a month. And then in the end of the month, we felt strong enough to do El Monstro, which is like the farther mountain. And we did in 17 hours. And that was the first time I realized my body can perform for 17 hours. That was the first time I'm like, okay, I'm good endurance. And actually, I do well after many hours in the mountains. I didn't know that. So that was something that opened my mind for other places. And one of the places we dreamed to climb, it was in Patagonia.
Yeah, well, let's stay with Kochamo for a minute. There's a legacy there, Brazilian climbers as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
Do you know him?
No, what's his name?
His name is Chiquinho.
No, I never met him.
No?
I just know about him because I was there in like 2009 or something like that.
So you know the Brazilian boats?
Yeah.
They're funny. That's how I grew up climbing. Those Brazilian, it's made in home, and it's just, I even don't know how to describe those boats.
They're that's pretty cool. You're back in your home continent, at least, and like I said, there's a Brazilian legacy for opening routes there, with a few people. So you must have had like amazing run of weather.
I don't know if I was in love and the sky
Didn't
just
matter.
opened up.
Okay,
and
all right. That was my problem. I didn't.
you should be in love.
Yeah, sorry.
Just kidding.
Dan Gambino, if
we
you're
did-
listening, I didn't love you enough while we were there.
Sorry. No, we got good weather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not like I'm not faulting you. I'm just like, oh man, that sounds awesome, because we did not. It's cool that you know, like I said, you kind of returned to a place that was closer to not just your home physically, but culturally as well.
Yeah, especially because Chiquinho, he does have a legacy there. He opened a lot of routes, and he has a beautiful respect by the community. So it opens door when I say I'm from Brazil and I'm friend of Chiquinho. Everybody like, oh, cool. You know, everybody's friendly, but I had a little extra love because I was from Brazil. And actually Chiquinho was one of my mentors. He doesn't know that, but he was my mentor. He took me a couple times to climb and some runouts routes. So, and he's pretty tall. So when I went to repeat his route, and I was like, I'm in trouble. Because, you know, tall guys, they put the bolts a little farther. So, you know, you're going to have to make the move, lock and clip, instead of you like clip from a nice stand. So,
Well, yeah, and he wasn't putting bolts in everywhere either.
No.
Like his roots were, I tried.
Pegadito de la parede.
I can't even remember.
Okay.
But yeah, we bailed. I mean, we didn't make it.
You don't remember the name? I'm curious
I'll
now.
have to look.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
It's hard to remember all the names.
Yeah,
Actually,
'cause they're
last
in a different
night,
language
I
than the
was-
one I speak, so it makes it even harder.
yeah.
I mean, you know.
So I got all the beta from him when I did repeat 2 of his route. And I love the style, you know, it didn't have a guidebook. You just go to the book, and like the people who established, they kind of like did a cartoon.
Right, yeah.
And it was kind of like understanding people, like how they draw and all the beta. It was very interesting.
Like you have a view into their personality by the way they would write
Yeah.
the topos, if there was funny stuff or if it
Yeah.
was all serious, or some people it was just a line. You're like, this is not helpful at all.
No.
You know, with some X's on it here and there.
Yeah. No, yeah. We had an amazing time. We were there for 40 days, and the only days that actually we got 4 days of rain, and that's when we need to rest. So yeah, we did like 3 routes in Trinidad, 3 routes in Theater, which is more to the right, and then Trinidad we did more routes. And then when we did Easy Does It, camp to camp, we like, okay, we are ready to go to El Monstro, which is that climate changed my life. I love Cuchamo. I actually never come back there. People invite me to go over there, but I had such an amazing trip, amazing memories with Ken. And I learned so much with him that I'm scared to go there.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Don't try to relive it.
Yeah, I don't want to relive it. I want to be there when I operate mentally strong to be like, Ken, I'm here. Let's do this. I still climb with him all the time.
Pick up where you said you started thinking about Patagonia when you were in Coachamo.
Well, that was our dream to go there. But Coachamo was so amazing, and the weather was amazing. Yeah, so after that, we got back to Squamish. That was like us being together almost 2 years. And I was just amazed I was like, okay, I raised my kid. Everything is great. I quit my job. I'm climbing. Life, it was just a beautiful thing. Finally, I felt like, okay, everything's getting aligned, you know? And Ken was working on the rope access. He used to work in the river bend, like help with the salmon to go up. So they would like working on the river so the salmon will have an easy way to go up upstream. And then he got back from that job, and I remember sitting on a boat and looking the chief, and I was like, I'm living in paradise. This is awesome, you know? And one morning we decided to climb Parallel Passenger, which is more on the north side of the chief. Doesn't have a lot of sun. And we are like practicing to climb fast in Nell Cap. We're going for Gold Gate. That will be the next one. And I was so happy that morning. I was like, okay, we're going to go climb. He's back in town. I love my life. Living on a boat, it was such an amazing experience. It felt like it's a parallel world. You be on the water and then you look to the rocks and you're like on the rocks and then on the water. It was pretty dreamy life. And Ken, he's from Squamish, and a lot of people like to solo in Squamish. And actually where I came from, I used to solo a lot too. Till my community start talking, hey, you have a kid, why are you soloing? They start questioning me. And I was like, I solo because I know I can do this. You don't solo to fall. You don't solo because you question yourself. You do a solo because you know what you're doing. Ken used to, when we are far away apart, sometimes we'll be far away apart. He used to send me videos of him soloing 510s. He would do 510s on site. And for me, it was pretty normal seeing Ken doing that. People would come ask me, do you worry about him? And I was like, no, I know what he's doing. We used to solo together. We'll be at the gongs soloing high. We'll be, like even in Yosemite, it's pretty easy to do a lap and after 6. That's something you do for fun. It's just part of our life. So that day we went to climb Parallel Passenger because we want to do a quick work. We were going to get our boats and go explore other places to open some routes. So we were really excited. We actually had really amazing plans. But that day we decided to climb Parallel Passenger, which is like a route that he soloed before. On his 33 years birthday, he did solo the Chief 3 times, and he was late for his birthday. That was the kind of person Ken was. He was always in the mountain, just loved being out there. So we went to climb Parallel Passenger. I led the first 3 pitches, and then he passed by me, and it has these weird pitches. Have you climbed on the Chief before? It has some sections. They have some ropes. Mm-hmm. Because it has like some plants, some vegetation, and
so you pass like a ledge with a bunch of vegetation to get back to the rock.
Yeah. So he had the backpack, so I was giving him belay. He come to me and he's like, "Okay, baby." I was like, "Why did you solo this route? It's pretty loose." And he's like, "Oh no, it's gonna get better after the ledge." And he's like, "This pitch is really easy. It's a 5. I think it was a 5.7." And I saw the ropes and I saw vegetation, and he's like, "It's going to be really easy. I'm just going to pass." And I was like, hey, give me the backpack. And he's like, "No." And just kept going. And I was like, "Hey, let me put it on belay." And he's like, "Oh no, I'm not going to clip anything. Don't worry." And then he just passed by me. And I was like, well, no red lights in my head, because I was like, he was my hero. I was like, nothing's going to happen, So I just keep giving him rope with my hands. And next thing I know, I heard him calling my name. And next thing I know, he was just falling. And I just hold the rope super tight. And I remember thinking, this is not real. It's funny how like in a second, your entire life can go through your head. So I hold the rope, and of course it's impossible for me to hold a factor 2 on my hands.
Anyone. It's impossible for anyone to do it.
But he's the love of my life, so I have to. So I hold really tight the rope, and finally he stopped. And I was holding with my hand, and I was like, but before he stopped, I saw him hitting the wall, and I saw him hitting this ledge like in the form that no human body would bend that way. So when he's finally stopped, I was holding the rope and thinking, I gotta keep holding how I'm holding him. But that's because he wasn't actually in the ledge, and then he just tumbled in the ledge, So finally I could let the rope go, and immediately I just called his friends. Actually, I called the rescue first, and the rescue started making me so many questions that I was like, I don't have time for this. They want my address. They want to know, I report the accident, and I told I need them right now. And they want my address. They want they wanted too many questions that I just like, stop talking to them, call his friends and be like, hey, Ken fell and it's really bad. Please send the rescue. Come help me. I need your help. So I down climb 5-10 minus to him. And I found him upside down. I turned him and I started talking to him, and he could hear me, but he would never answer me anything. He never opened his eyes. I couldn't believe what that happened. I was just in shock. Couldn't believe my reality. I was like, this is not real. So yeah, 30 minutes after that, the helicopter was like flying above my head. I had like people on top of me, people below. You know, Squamish is a busy place. I have people all over me, like not all over me, but like around me. So I have people on the phone, and I was like, please come help me. I need to lower him. Please come help me. And I was like, it has a rope fixed in the first pitch. You just got to climb a pitch and a half to get to us. Please come help me. And they're like, no, everything's going to be okay. Wait. And I wait an hour. I wait 2 hours. And he only would tell me he's thirsty and he's tired. But he was just sitting there, pretty broke. I didn't want to panic. I didn't want to scream, which now I wish I scream more. Maybe people will help me. And then finally, 3 hours and a half, when I start freaking out, this climber above me decided to come over and help me. But that's when I started seeing him passing away. He started getting purple in his extremity, arms and ears and mouth. I called the rescue and I say, hey, he's dying. And they told me to do the first aid, like the CPR. The CPR, yeah. So me and her, we did the CPR and it was too late.
What was the holdup with the rescue? Like what? I mean, was it just the thing where they just have to do it all the way, put in the big ropes and things?
That's the thing.
Do we want to dwell on that or not?
Yeah, I think so it's really hard to expose a accident, but also we can learn with accident. They only rescue top down.
Okay, that's what I assumed. So it has to be this rigging from somewhere way above and all the things, yeah.
So we are 7 pitches from the top and 2 pitches and a half from the ground. It would be way easier. His friends arrived so early. They want to come to help us, but the whole rescue say do not involve more people. They don't want people get involved. They say they already have 1 person involved in the accident. They don't want more people involved. So with the helicopter, they bring the team to the top, and they brought this huge rope. And they built a new anchor, and this machine would lower the rescue down.
Right, with the litter and all that.
But that was like 7 pitches with a radio. Stop, keep going, stop. So they took too long. It was, he has that 1 hour, golden hour to be in a hospital. He didn't have 3 hours and a half. So I was pretty upset with the rescue, but at the same time, it was our decision to be there.
Yeah,
it was our. Right. I'm very conscious that that was our decision, so I cannot blame people. And when I watched him pass away, I felt like I was in a movie. I didn't know if I should kiss him or if I should just jump from there because the pain was really hard. When you see your partner dying, you don't think about your kids. You don't think about life. You just like this pain just take over your body, and you just want everything to end. Luckily, the rescue arrived right after. When I was having that thought, like, should I kiss him? Should I jump? What I should do? I just couldn't believe that dream life was over. So the rescue arrived, and they have this vest, and I help them to put the vest on Ken, and then the helicopter Ken put him on a line, and his body flew to his hometown. I just remember watching and thinking, what's now? What's left? So yeah, I told the rescue I was okay to rappel. Of course, I was not okay to rappel. So they brought me down, and it was hard. Ken was a lovable person, very special in the community. I have to repeat the same story for everyone. That was hard. Like, explain to his friends, explain to his mom. How you tell your mom, like his mom, that his son is gone, you know? Then I felt guilty to not save him.
I just wrote that word down here.
Guilt?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just part of it.
Yeah.
I'm of the mind, and you are just said it as well. Like, we make our choices, and, you know, his choice to do that, it's not on you to try to talk him out of it. You know, you trusted what he was doing, and 1,000 other times that he would have zoomed up through there and put you on belay, and nothing ever would have happened. I mean, 10,000 more times. So, yeah, but it's not easy to tell yourself that. So I imagine you were pretty profoundly buried in guilt.
Yeah.
And just surviving means that he didn't and you did.
Well, we used to solo together, so I know the consequence. Right. I'm not.
Yeah, but that's an intellectual understanding of the consequences, you know?
Yeah, right. It is. So, I'm really realistic. I come from a place that reality hit your life really fast, and you deal it, or you're just going to be frustrated for your entire life. And I always dealing with the reality. And one of my reality was he's gone. Maybe I could save him, but I tried to talk to doctors, like what I could do it. And, you know, he punched his lungs, and he couldn't move one arm. He couldn't move his legs. He was pretty broken. And if you take a risk in the mountains and you climb and you solo, you know, if you fall, you might not want to survive. It's hardish to say, but we all say that. But Ken used to tell me he was going to live forever. I was like, baby, what happened if you die? And he's like, I'm going to live forever. Don't you worry. Maybe he's still living forever in my heart.
So for you, what are the next weeks and months look like?
I didn't want to leave anymore. His friends, oh gosh, one thing was amazing. It was the climbing community. They hugged me. They supported me. They didn't want me to be alone. They brought me food. They supported my pain. And I just went to sleep, because all the time I get up, I was like, wake up, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's not a nightmare. It's my reality. So I went to sleep again. So pretty much I sleep a lot, and his friends stay around me. Chris, to tell the truth, I just want to die. I couldn't handle the pain. It was too hard. But my son come to stay with me. He traveled from Brazil, and I remember telling him, like, I don't want to leave anymore. And he looked at me and he's like, how about me? And that's when I'm like, oh, yeah, I have you. It was funny because I always have him, but I need to hear from him, like, how about me, Mom? And I was like, okay, I'm strong. I'll take this pain. It was the worst pain. I lost my mom before, but it was the worst pain I ever felt in my life. And I was like, gee, you're strong. And Ken was a beautiful person. You cannot make this tragedy worse. Because everybody was already suffering. Think about if I'm gone, then I will create more suffering. And we don't need more suffering in our community, you know. So I spent a lot of time by myself. I ask friends to teach me how to rope soloing. Some people say no. I also want to come back to the route where he passed away because we left a green alien and I won on my green alien because it was Ken's green alien. So it was a mission. So the first 10 days, I just have a mission. I want to get that piece. And finally, I found a friend that told me, okay, I'll go there with you. So I went there, got the green alien, and then I crashed. I really crashed hard. One thing that helps me a lot, maybe it was hard on her, but Brett Harrington, she gave me a call. And I remember laying down on the ground and being in pain. And I was like, when this pain is going to go away? And she told me, never. And then I realized I will have to live with that pain. And this is one of my power. I make people cry. You cry now.
Yeah.
Her call made it my world different. I was not the only one lost the love of my life. So I should tough it up and, make it Ken's proud. I'm sure he wants me to keep living. I'm sure I just could feel his energy. And her call was very important. And I know it was painful for her also, because it was like a year after Mark died. Ken actually went on his celebration of life. If you see here one day this, I want to say to her, thank you. She helped save my life for sure. And she texted me a couple times, and then she disappeared after. And then after I heard a podcast or something that she say, it was hard for her to support that because that will make her come back to when she lost him, and it takes effort. It takes so much power or strength for you to get off from that hole, that dark hole that when the person gone that you are at, so I didn't want to be that heavy person on her. So I just appreciate everything she has the energy to give to me. So I promised Ken that I would bring his ashes to the place that he dreamed, and we dreamed to climb. Because I didn't know what to do in my life. I'm like, well, I dropped all my work, my life to be with the love of my life, and now I don't have him anymore. What I'm going to do? Well, I still have the passion for climb. I know climb, people would question me, how can you climb after Ken died? I was like, climbing didn't kill Ken. The chief didn't kill Ken. It was our decision. So that's when I started traveling my own, because I lost the sense of feelings. I didn't experience fear, stress, empathy. I didn't experience nothing. I was just not feeling nothing. It actually was pretty awesome. I felt like it was a power, because the humans' feelings kind of hold us back sometimes. And be able to not be afraid or experience the stress, it was very powerful. So I started travel by myself. Can't have everything planned for a year. So I know that we're going to go to Yosemite. I know we're going to go to the high Sierras, and I know we would go to Patagonia. So I got his ashes and I started traveling and climbing by myself. And the cool thing is, before, Ken used to find the trail, find the project, and do the hard pitches. And then I started bring that knowledge that he gave to me. I was find the trail. I was bring people to climb. I was aware of what's going on and everything. So yeah, it's hard to say, but Ken made me a better person after he passed away, which I wish it was different. I wish he made me a better person when he was there. I mean, he was already, but you know what I mean? It's just, it made me a better climber and a better friend, a better mother, less selfish, I guess. I understand people. And I discovered my own power which is I can listen people and I can support and understand what people go through. It was funny because after Ken passed away, a lot of people would feel bad for me, which I didn't like hugs. I'm from Brazil. I like hugs, but after he passed away, I was like, no hugs. Yeah, I was like, no, I give you a hug today.
I know. I feel very privileged, actually.
But for 8 months, Chris, I did not hug. I did not listen music. Happy music will not really, I was not connected, and sad music will make me cry and put myself in a hole. I would cry for 3 days. I would be by myself for 3 days, and then after I would go out and just charge for like 2-3 days climbing, and then I'll come back and be alone again for a couple of days and cry, and it's just happened for 8 months. Another thing I need to do, I need to solo. I had the urge to control my mind. So I knew I have a trauma. People come to me like, you have trauma. I'm like, oh yeah, name it. Just list it. I've been in a climb accident. I saw my boyfriend die. Yeah, I have all the traumas. So one of my trauma was helicopter. I could not hear helicopters. Blood, it was something I could not see it. And couples, I could not hang out with couples. So I started working on that. I was like, if you have a trauma, you have to face it, because or you're going to live your entire life running away from this, or you're going to face it. So first time I saw a helicopter, my friend invited me, Ken's friend invited me to flew on top of the chief, because I felt like Ken is on the chief now. But when I went to the airport, I saw this helicopter, and my first action was like this pain in my chest that was going to explode it. So I ran to the bathroom, and then as I was running, I was like, where do you go? It doesn't have a place for you to hide. You have to face it. So I turned around and I faced the helicopter, and actually it felt like my chest wasn't going to explode, but it never did. And slowly it went away. I kept breathing and it went away. Blood was the same thing. I used to terrified to see blood, but now I see blood and it's just blood. Actually represent life, And couples, slowly I started hanging out with couples, but I couldn't hang out with couples. It was just made me sad.
Yeah. So you're dealing with this. Are you seeking help professionally, or is this like a true like self-help sort of operation when you were facing these traumas? And because it sounds like you had an intellectual part of your brain that was like, hey, gee, like here's what you have to do. But then doing it or coming up with a plan or not running away, that was just something you were able to do?
So Ken's company he used to work for, they pay me 10 sections to start. They're very helpful. They're like, oh, we want to pay you a therapist. I went in 2 sections and I started talking, and I was looking for answers. We want answers like, where they go, why this happened. I felt like it was a karma. I was like, is it my karma or it's his karma? Why this happened? And I used to leave her office exhausted, worse than when I came in. And I didn't like it. So I went to 2 sections and I was like, no. I think therapy is good. I think maybe I should go to therapy right now. But but I found healing being in the mountains. I felt like I was close to Ken. And I was pretty lost and I didn't know what to do. But when I made a decision and I go to places, I keep seeing hearts in different shapes, like rocks and plants and, clouds. And that was my sign that I was on the right path. I was with Ken. I was like, Ken, this is kind of dangerous. I'm going to solo mattress crash. And then I see hearts and I was like, okay, he's with me. And I would go climb. I was just like by myself on high seas and doing a lot of rope soloing. I was soloing because I decide that I need to control my mind. I didn't want my trauma and my fear control me and my life. And people were thinking like she's crazy, but other people understand that it was something I need to know that I can control my mind. I need to know that I was not going to panic. I don't want to panic. So it was very helpful. So I climbed El Capitan. I climbed Half Dome in 17 hours to spread his ashes. Solo Cathedral Peak, Master's Crest, all those easy peaks. They're fun. All the time I'm in town with a lot of people, I would just feel disconnected. I could not see people laughing. I would see them laughing and being happy, and I was like, they're so genuine. They don't know how life can be painful and harsh. So I used to feel like I was this huge ball of sadness, and that whatever I roll, I would just make people cry. So I like to be alone. I didn't want people to feel sorry for me, and I didn't want people recognize I was the girl who lost her boyfriend, in the climb accident. I wanted people to see me because not because some tragedy happened in my life.
So you do eventually go over that horizon, though. Just full disclosure, when we sat down, I kind of asked G, like, what are we going to talk about Ken on this? Because there's a lot to talk about in your life besides that. And that's maybe what you are getting at. But you said, oh, I'm good to talk about it. I think it can help people. I didn't quite expect the depth we're talking about right now, but it's amazing. And you are making me cry, and I think you're making people out there cry. But you're not that person. I mean, I met you today, and you're not that person. I got my hug. You insisted, and you're talking about it. And so how'd you go over that horizon of not just thinking of yourself as this ball of sadness that's bringing everybody down, but to that you had something to offer, and you started spending time with people again, and, not perfectly, I'm sure. Like you said, maybe you still should be in therapy, but yeah, what happened, or how did that go about happening?
I think it was the passion for life, for climbing. And I was on a mission to spread Ken's ashes. So I was not wasting my time in anything that would stop me to climb the next peak and the next mountain, and what I need to learn to do it and find partners. So I remember one day my van broke down, and I was like, what am I going to do now? I was like, well, maybe I'm going to book a ticket for Patagonia. That's where I want to go. I was definitely on the stage of running with no fear. I just want to be in Patagonia. I didn't care if it's dangerous, or I never been in a glacier before, but I know Ken wants to climb in Patagonia. So I went to Patagonia by myself. But I know I have friends there. You know how is the climbing community? You always have friends. And so I arrived in Patagonia, and I saw those unreal mountains. And I was like, this is a pretty amazing place to be. So I felt lucky and grateful to be there. Ken was with me. I used to have hearts everywhere. It was my form of power, seeing hearts and posting hearts and everything about hearts. And I was in Patagonia by myself trying to find a partner. And that's a hard work. That's really hard, because it does have, like really good climbers will not climb with climbs. They just arrive there. And
it's a destination place you generally go with someone to climb with, Yeah, it's not the Rifle parking lot or whatever.
No,
it's not Miguel's, like the campground in Miguel's, right?
You're like, hey, I have a rack. Do you want to climb with me? What I knew, I spent a lot of time in high Sierras, and so I knew I could move fast in the 510 terrain, I know I had a good mind for runouts, and I just could move. Like, the mountains are big, but I was like, I can do this. It's fine. I have been training, so it was like that was like 2 years after Ken passed away. So I started asking to people, and I found a couple partners here and there. I even found Chiquinho. He was there, and he's like, "Yeah, I will climb De La S with you." And then I looked the size of De La S, and I was like, "This is too small." I was like, "I wanted something bigger, something more meaningful." And then a window of 5 days just come up. And then people in town start getting crazy, buying things and start planning, And I was like, I don't have a partner. I come to this guy from Spain, Pedro Fiance, and I invite him to, hey, would you climb with me? And he's like, yeah. So we went to a restaurant and we sat, and he started interviewing me almost like I was interviewing for a job. He asked me so many things, and then after an hour interview, he's like, yeah, no, we have partners. And I was like, damn it. So I come back home and I was like, it's because I'm a woman or because I don't have experience. So I just all my mind project all this thing why he's not climbing with me. But then the next day he's like, hey, my partner Bale, would you like to climb Fitzroy? And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, let's have a meeting. So we have a meeting, and it was a team of 3. One guy, he was from Chaltén, and he has a lot of skills, experience on the glacier. He used to work on the rescue. And then Pedro was the most experienced climber on the team. And I told him, I never wear a crampon. I never been here. But I know I can climb dry rocks really fast. And then he's like, okay, we're going to do a FNSF. And I was like, cool. So I had 2 days to study about the routes and pack and get myself together to climb Fitzroy. I was definitely running not on fear. I was very brave. And if something went wrong, I was going to see Ken. So I just want to climb.
So you've got these internal dialogues going. Yeah. Hopefully you kept them to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking about you trying to find partners, and everybody's open, maybe not open to it. But if you are putting off this kind of vibe that if things go wrong, I'm going to see Ken, that's not going to help you find any partners, so
I didn't know.
Hopefully you were able to put on a face of just being a psyched climber, even though that wasn't really what was going on in your head.
Yeah. No, I hold everything to myself. I told you, I have the power to make people cry. So when I met someone, I could be really easy with them and not tell anything. Or I could say, hey, I lost my boyfriend. It depends what I want to do on the day. And it got to the point that I didn't want to talk about it. Yeah, because I talk so much about it. I felt like what helps me go through Ken's loss, it was be able to be open and be able to sit with the person and cry and laugh at the same time. But I could see some people would get very uncomfortable when I open up, and I didn't want to make people uncomfortable.
It's a you're in this community in El Chaltén, so everybody's aware. Many people have experienced death in the mountains of a partner, or at least 1 or 2 degrees away from it. And so I find that it's just by necessity that everybody when you're sitting there looking at the climbs you're about to do, you keep it at arm's length a little bit. Most people do, or it's just gallows humor around what could happen in the mountains, but you're getting psyched up. You're not going to dwell on it. And so that's kind of why I asked. I was like, well, what energy were you putting off as you were tromping around looking for partners in El Chaltén? Because that could have factored into this, oh yeah, no, I got something else to do tomorrow, thanks, kind of thing.
I guess the energy I put out there, I was stoked. I was like, I want to climb this mountain. I'm here to climb. I have been training. I'm fast. I can climb dry rocks. But that's not all we have in Patagonia. I guess I was just putting my best out there to climb. I was already, after 2 years, I was able to like be more excited. I was still not like partying or drinking or hang out with people. I was just really focused on climbing and my mission. I have a mission. I need to bring Ken to the top of one mountain. I mean, it was not a specific Fitzroy. The invitation came from my partner. And when I sat with my partners, we knew that we all didn't have the same skills, but we have combined, we have the skills that we need. It was like, everything's going to be okay. I can do this. I was not operating on fear. Let's put it this way. I didn't feel fear. Different when you enter in a mountain operating by fear, and it's different when you enter in a mountain excited, stoked, loving being there and wants to be there. And especially when you know that you can suffer and you're okay to suffer. So I guess that's where I was operating. So yeah, we pack our bags and we start hiking, and my Crocs will be the approach because I was not sure if I can hike 10 kilometers, right? And then do a glacier and then get to the base of the route and then start climbing. So when we break down the hike in 2 days, and I got to the base of the route, and it was a beautiful day. It was 5 days window, great weather. I was climbing my shirt. It was unreal. I mean, I come back to Patagonia 3 times after, and I never experienced that before after. So when I touched the rock, I mean, on approach, it was hard. My partners had to teach me how to put a crampons on. That was very embarrassing. But I told them, like, I'm a fast learner. Just tell me what to do and I will do it. And they're like, okay. So when I touched the rocks, I was like, I am in my element now. I'm good. So I was stoking, leading, and I was like, I can lead. You guys don't want to lead? I'll do it. So I was like really stoked to lead. And next thing I look, we have 22 parties climbing that route.
22?
Yes. It feels like I was in El Cap. You know, like when you look in El Cap
and
you have...
like the mother load in
Oh my gosh.
the red.
We didn't know that. So, because we did approach slow. So when we got there and we look up and we saw every pitch has a party, we like, this is dangerous. Like, we were scared of like rock fall, you know. And so we took our time. We like slowed down when we started climbing. And then some parties were behind us also when we kept climbing. Everything was great. We didn't have no problem find the line. Pedro fiance was pretty good, you know, orientate on the mountains. And as I was climbing, I could hear avalanche. I could hear rock falls because we right close to Super Canaleta, and it was February, so like a lot of rock falls were falling. And I just remember thinking, that's the sounds of the mountain, and the mountain is in movement, and I am in movement also. So I just kept climbing. While we were climbing, one guy actually behind us fell and asked for help. So we have to stop our climbing. Pedro he's a firefighter, so he's like, I gotta help them. And I was like, oh my gosh, sure. After 2 days of hiking, we're pitchy 15. You're gonna go down to help? Sure, we gotta help each other, right? So he went down, brought the guy up. The guy was bleeding a lot. You could see his bone on his elbow. And they like, okay, you guys got to go down. And they're like, no, we cannot go down by ourselves. You guys have to go with us. And I was like, what? I'm not going down. Like, you guys are a team. You guys should go down. You're doing fine. You should go down. And they like, Pedro was like, well, we should look. Maybe we need help and go down with them. And I was like, I was very against. I was like, no, I don't want to go. I guess I was stubborn and very selfish. So the guy who was injured, he was a local, and he's like, well, if you fix the line, I can climb. And I was like, let's vote. And we vote and we decide to keep going. And I led all the pitches because Pedro was the one who's switching pitches with me. And he wanted to watch, just make sure the guy who was injured, he was not acting differently because he lost some blood, you know. So I was really excited because I was like, okay, I don't have to have backpack, so I'm leading everything. It was like great. So yeah, I pretty much led everything that day. On the second day, also on the third day, Pedro took the sharp end because that's when they start having mixed climbing, and I was like not comfortable on ice or mix. And so yeah, we were behind everyone. After 3 days, we reached the summit. I spread Ken's ashes, and somehow after I spread his ashes, I started having some feelings, and that was very weird for me. I felt grateful. I felt scared to die. Just like on the summit, things started like coming back. I don't know if I complete my mission. It just felt amazing to be there. And we spent too much time in the summit. And next thing we know, we saw this cloud coming. And Patagonia is famous for like strong wind. And this cloud was coming in our direction. And we're like, okay, so we should start moving. Next thing you know, we are inside the cloud. And next thing you know, we could not see like nothing in front of us. It was just all white. And we're like, okay, we got to find this rappel. And all the rappels in Patagonia, they're not bolted. It's just like sling around rocks. So we got to find the first rappel so we can actually find the rappel line. And next thing you know, it starts snowing. It started wind. And everything changed. And I was just like, I just don't want to die here. And accidentally got a wrong rappel. We end up in a different rappel. We were like end up on Super Canaleta. We are lost. So they called the town and say, hey, so we're in this rappel. They describe where we are, and they're like, you guys are on the wrong rappel. You guys gonna have to like climb the mountain again, summit again, and then find the real line. While we are lost up in the mountains, these 22 parties in front of us rappelling the Breccia dos Italianos. And that's the most dangerous rappel because it's like a gully. So when it melts, all the rocks just like goes to the same place on the rappel line. So 2 accidents happened. One Colombian guy got a rock on his leg, and one American John boat lost his life on the rappel in that day. So while we were like fighting with the weather, trying to find the rappel, a lot of accidents is happening on the rappel, like close to the glacier. So finally, we climbed the mountain again, summit, found the rappel, but then it was too hard and we were already tired. So we put our tarp on top of us. And I remember being so cold and just thinking like, I want to be cozy here. And we stayed there for 15 minutes, like eating. And I start kind of falling asleep. Just want to be there. And my partners were like, okay, we got to go now. And I was like, no, let's just stay here. And they're like, no, we got to go now, and just start kind of like slap each other to like, wake up, let's go. So I was like, okay, I'm awake, let's go. So we are already like 4 days in the climbing. So when we start rappelling, finally, when we passed the cloud, we saw stars and we saw the town. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to die here. And we started rappelling, and that was like 27 hours rappelling. It was a long way, because also we're not a part of 3 anymore. We're a part of 5 because we took those 2 guys that had the accident with us.
I was going to ask if he was still there.
and when we like decide to like one open the rappel, the next one come, and then the last one pull the rope so we can all be moving, they stuck their rope and we lost one rope, and we can afford to keep losing ropes here. And then we have a call from the rescue saying, so hey, Brescia is really dangerous, a person died, the body is still on the anchors, it's up to you guys to put the body down or share the anchors. Just be aware. And they say all the Brescia, which is, I don't remember if it's 6 or 7 rappels, the ropes are already fixed because all the accident and all the rescue was happening, so they left the ropes out there. So because those 2 guys that we help, they're from Chaltén, some of the other rescue team came to wait for us on the glacier. So Thomas Ruber was one of the friend who got the guy who hurt his elbow. So as we are rappelling, we could see the team coming, and then one of our team member was like, we didn't ask for rescue, we don't need ask rescue. And I was like, oh, I kind of nice, they might have some food, some hot water, I like it. And they're like, no, G, if you climb Fitzroy, you're supposed to leave this place in your own, you're not supposed to contact the rescue. I was like, I'm not asking for rescue, I'm just like happy they're here, And at the same time, I gotta tell you, I was blood cold about we're gonna find the body on the way. It's not like I didn't care. I just thought anything that would change my emotions will change my decisions, so I should not let that happen to me. So yeah, we did the whole rappel, and it was hard. And when we got to the Brescia d'Italianos, Pedro and I, we went first. And when I got to the rappel, I just saw this huge blood mark, and the body was not there. Another rock fall happened, and it took his body down. But I rappelled, and when I hit the glacier, his body was just right next to me, and I didn't look at it. I was just like, there's nothing there for me to see it. So when I got to Thomas Ruber tent, he was really upset with me. He's kind of like, you should never, ever fix the line for those guys. And I was like, we are all here. We are all safe. And he's like, in the mountains, you should never fix a line if the person cannot climb. Yeah, so we came down with the rescue team. They give us tea. They're happy that they didn't need to help us. This guy used to be, he's still the coach from the kids in town. So they told us, like, if the coach die, that would be devastate a whole generation of climbers in Chaltén.
So the guy who hurt his elbow.
Yes.
Yeah, so he was a precious sort of commodity for El Chaltén. So they were just taking a precaution to make sure he got home. Yeah, so
when I saw the rescue, actually, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you guys are here. And they look at me like, we're not here for you. We're not here for you. I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean not here for me? But they treat us really well. They cook some warm food, after being 4 days in the mountains and cold and not eating well, and have like warm food and see people, and it was very special. Even though Thomas Ruber took me on the side and be like, don't you ever do that again. He's like, I respect you as a climber, but don't ever do that again. I was like, oh, okay. But anyways, we are all friends now. I love the connection I have with the climbers that climb Fitzroy with me, and it was amazing. And then after that, I lost my superpower. I come back, have feelings.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Another superpower I had.
Have you tried ketamine?
Oh, that's a good one if you stick your knee on a crack.
So, I mean, the bulk of the story here has been talking about, this relationship with Ken, and that continues. It's strange, but it's like, it was like a different phase, but it was still a relationship with Ken after he passed away. and it continues to be. You kind of hinted like I still climb with him all the time. I'll just put it that way because it kind of brings him to the living. But what is your relationship with Ken and how it fits into your climbing now? Now that you did that, that's just a classic catharsis of what happened to you on the top of that mountain. The Greeks talk about it in all of their mythologies. You had this catharsis and it changed you in a deep way through hardship, through suffering. You came out the other side a different person. Where are you now with the relationship you have with him and with climbing?
It went to phases, right? Phases that I was not want to leave anymore, to phase that can empower my climbing because I remember everything he taught me. And that's why I turned to be, I want to say my best climb because of him. And then after I took him to climb with me in my chalk bag, and now I forgot to bring him over. Sometimes I feel guilt. I feel like now I sometimes avoid think of him. Like I don't have much energy to his family to share because I'm in the mountain taking risks, and I don't want them to trying to tell me what I should do, what I should not, because people who loves you, they want to save you from something that it's gonna happen with you, but or to you. But like I have the right to make my own choices and live my life in the mountains. So right now I have a new boyfriend, and it's really nice that he respects Ken's memory. Sometimes I want to post about Ken, but I don't want to be overexposed anymore, and I don't want to hurt my boyfriend right now, but he understands where I am at. And I still talk to Ken when I have like really wild plans to climb these mountains that I have in my list. But definitely I'm more in a avoiding stage right now to think about it. And it was hard to like, okay, I'm gonna come to this podcast and I know I'm gonna talk about Ken because it was a big part of me, and that's how my name was more out there. And
that's what I do.
You just dig in people's life and just
although like I said, I didn't know coming in here what we were going to talk about. I knew it would come up, but not at this depth. But I understand that, like, you brought up Brett, and we did a very similar podcast, whatever, a year and a half ago or something, that followed up one that I'd, done with her 7 or 8 years before, and so much had happened to her. And I actually have had this conversation that's not out yet with Angela Van Wiemersch.
Yeah, Angela texted me too. It was so beautiful. The whole community sent me messages.
But, she feels the same way. As she goes into new relationships, it's baggage. In the classic sense. And, you have to open yourself to love someone else, and you don't want to impede it.
Yeah. So. We deserve to be happy. Mm-hmm. I remember when I lost Ken, I felt guilty to be happy.
Right.
I felt guilty to be there, living my life. But all I can do is living my best life and honor his life. Actually, now, I keep saying, it's a funny thing, I keep saying, like, that's another power I have. It's people get really vulnerable next to me, and they tell me things, the worst things happen to them. I feel like they feel comfortable because they know I've been through pain, so they feel comfortable to open up. And before, I could not have any empathy. I would be like, why you tell me this? But I would listen. And now I like to listen. And if I can, I like to help. And help in a way is just like listen, that let them feel like what they need to feel, to go through that hard part in their life. So now I'm a guide actually in town. When you guide, you kind of therapists also. People come to you and tell you a lot of things. And it's still in this time when a girlfriend lost a boyfriend, they text me.
Yeah, so you're that person now that those other women were for you.
I hold that place, I guess. Yeah. And I'm okay. I'm okay to do that. And if I have energy, I will give time. And it doesn't have like a recipe, right? But I can share my experience. And that helps them to go through they lost. Because, I used to think that it was me, it was my karma. But something that really helped me, Chris, it was American Alpine put a program that was climbing grief fund. Oh my gosh, those videos, Chris, I watched yours too, by the way. It helped me so much. I remember just being devastating and watch, and it helps me see that it was not the first climber to die on the mountains, and it will not be the last one. And what kept me alive, it was my community texting me, even though I didn't reply. But every message I received, I read. And it kind of like my heart was broke. And then every message and every person put a little piece together. And it took years to my heart just, build up the little pieces together like a puzzle. And yeah, I guess I have a full heart now so I can share with others.
All right, folks, thanks for listening, and thanks to Gisely for doing that. Intense. When I sat down a few weeks later to edit this, I kind of readied myself to re-listen, relive the experience. Very moving, very courageous to talk about that. Gisely wants you to know that you can move forward from events like this, events and accidents, traumas that crack your foundation open, that bring you to the edge. It's possible to go forward, and that's why she wanted to talk about it. So, follow her at Instagram at Brazilianclimbergirl. She also has a website, Brazilianclimbergirl.com, and she's also available for guiding, including her crack clinics. You can find those at rockboundadventures.com. So connect with Gisely. She wants to climb with you. All right, folks, get out there, have fun, be safe, look out for each other, and of course, check your knots.
Wild geese. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things.